So, you want to know how to achieve this cinematic shot? Well, there's one thing you need to know. It's all about contrast, always. Well, at least in my opinion. I mean, look at this shot, or this shot, or this shot. Be honest, don't they look cinematic? All of them follow the same principle: contrast in lighting and color. That's just what creates depth and mood and that professional feel. So let's break down how easy it is to actually pull that off. We start with the lighting. For this crispy macro shot of my eye, I first set up a SmallRig RC60B and pointed it at the ceiling to create a soft ambient light. I set it to 100% intensity and 6500 Kelvin. That's just what gives the room a cold blue tone. Next up, we have the key light. And although it's not a full key light in the traditional sense, it's what makes the scene feel really interesting. I'm specifically talking about that slash of fake sunlight right across my eye here. I used an Amaran 200X really close to my face and then dialed in around 16% intensity so it wouldn't blind me. And I set it to 2700 Kelvin. So basically, warm tungsten light that looks like the afternoon sun. And just like that, we have our first layer of contrast: warm versus cold. But contrast isn't just about color, it's also about light and shadow. So in order to make the scene moodier and more interesting exposure-wise, I took some light away after setting everything up. Just out of frame, I placed a negative fill to block the ambient and key light reflecting from the walls into my face. I suddenly had these beautiful exposure patterns on my whole face. So we're going from shadow to light to shadow, and then light again in the background. It's that pattern that instantly gives more depth and interest to the scene. So basically, cinematic lighting in a nutshell. Now, camera-wise, I'm sure some of you want to know. If not, just skip to the color grading chapter. Camera-wise, I was going with my Sony a7S III mounted on a tripod, slightly top down. I used a 135mm macro lens so I could get really close to my eye. To soften the image, I threw a 1/8 Pro Mist filter onto my camera. And since I was shooting alone, I first used autofocus to be sure I'm definitely in focus. And then I switched back to manual so there was no focus breathing. It's just a little trick I always do with autofocus lenses. I shot an S-Log3 at 100 FPS so I could go full slow motion in post. The shutter speed was set to 1/200, the ISO to the native 640, and white balance to 3200 Kelvin. Why 3200 Kelvin? Well, because the key light then appears even warmer and the ambient light even cooler, which again means contrast with the warm skin tones and cool background. I used the monitor to check my angle while recording. And that's it. Now let's get to the secret sauce: color grading. Step 1, as always, is to convert the log footage into Rec. 709. Step 2 for this specific shoot was applying DEHANCER Pro with its film emulation tools. I used the Kodak Vision 3 250D as the base film stock and then smashed the Kodak 2383S film print on it. To enhance the filmic vibe, I turned on halation and bloom to make it a little softer and creamier. Step 3 was really to double down on that color contrast. So I went to the hue versus set curves and I pushed the saturation in the reds, oranges, and yellows, so especially around the skin tones. I also pulled back a little bit in the blues to let the background fall off even more subtle, but still cold. And to wrap it all up, I gave it a fake anamorphic look by reducing the y-axis scale, but leaving the x-axis untouched. And I think, looking at it, it's almost perfect. Except, yeah, that little blue slash here in my eye. Trust me, that was not intentional. I just forgot to close the door of my room, and some natural daylight was creeping in that I didn't notice. Small detail, but hey, shit happens. So we went from this to this in just a few simple steps, and you can clearly see it's all about contrast. Try it yourself and let me know down in the comments how it turned out. Anyways, I guess I'll see you in the next one. Peace.